everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube. Welcome back if this is your fifth Under the Banner of Heaven episode review. Hope you all been having a good week. Hope things are safe. Here in the New York area, it's getting warm as hell. So right now, normally in my adult world, an indication of how I notice that it's becoming summer. Winter is kind of coming to an end. It's time to start getting them sandals ready. You get short seasons, all that sort. Normally, so what I do is when I'm in the winter time, I would have 3 blankets on my bed, so I'm ready to go and be very extra comfy and extra warm during the cold months. As it gets warmer, I started losing it. I'm on the last layer of the blanket. So and that's like a thick blanket. My least thick blanket. So once that's gone, then that's it. It's over. It's officially summertime, as well as just in general. I'm still gonna look the same on camera because all you see is my upper half, and I always wear t-shirts 24/7. So. No, it's really going to change. I'm just letting you know it's getting a little warmer here. So if I do, in fact, because we go until probably the beginning of June for this series. So yeah, because, oh my God, June's almost here. That's also surprising. Under the Banner started at the very end of April, and now we're already at we're officially on almost the end of May. Damn, the months go by fast when you're reviewing shows. But for this week on Under the Banner of Heaven, sadly, time is not on a majority of people's sides for mostly every character in this show, both in the present day and then getting into the flashbacks. This episode, I feel like we got less of the flashbacks. This was definitely more of a we need to have our main characters figure out what the hell's going on in the present day sense. With the inclusion of the flashback, we didn't get much of the Alan and Brenda story of their side of things again, because their side has mostly been told. We're still waiting for the big leading up moments to this episode. Oh my God, I think we're approaching it. They're teasing us hard for how graphic this can be, and again, it's Hulu with FX, so I'm very, very worried, not in a bad way, but I'm just very worried on how graphic, if we get to that, if we ever see a recreation of how Brenda died. I feel like that's going to be the kid, because the way they ended this episode was that was graphic. I kid you not, that was, I honestly thought they were the thing in episode, was it 3 or 2, with the flashbacks to Joseph. I thought that was the big moment where okay, that's as far as we're gonna go. Them threatening this, but I didn't actually, witness the actual act of. Well, we'll get to that in the recap. But I'm like, oh my God, damn! I'm really scared, because if this is just episode 5, I'm scared what the next 2 episodes are. I'm really scared. I can't wait to see how that's gonna go next week and then the first week of June. But so we'll get to that in a moment. But with that being said, let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. So we begin with, oh my God, I distinctly had, oh yeah, I forgot. So the detectives, Jeb and his partner are interviewing the newest, the Lafferty they found up in the mountains. They're finally interviewing him. And it seems like he's trying to act like, oh, I'm the one who committed the murder. It was me the whole time. And then Jeb does a little point oh, so why'd you move the baby over to Brenda's body? And he's like, oh, because I want to atone her sins even in death so she can go to the almighty heaven. And Jeb's like, she was found in her crib. You didn't do it. He was like, damn it. It's another thing. Laffertys are not the best actors. They try so hard to be this dramatic force. It was me the whole time. And it's wait, seriously? Oh, damn. It was funny. But it's clear that he was involved more intimately but by this point, it's Ron and Dan. It has to be those two. That they were the ones that probably were there on the night of the murder. Which is also, by the way, damn, I'm confusing names. Dan wasn't in this episode. He only had very minor mentions. So I'm very scared that the next time we see Dan in flashback or in present day form, it's going to be very disturbing, I think, because I feel like we're getting up to the levels of disturbing here. Especially now that Alan was kind of the weakest of the Laffer. He was definitely not the most honest to God one. He definitely had his own selfish reasons, but he wasn't the worst. I feel the more the more they catch, they're just building their way up to the intensity ladder. So the Lafray they got definitely was more into what they were trying to teach, but it wasn't him who committed the act at all. So The only new piece of information we got from either of the Lafferty they have in custody was that there was this school of prophets that Ron and Dan were very much intertwined during in the recent months that kind of probably led to the formation of the list, and that they had other disciples. So there's more people that know, and they drop a couple names. I forgot the second name. I forgot the first name they mentioned, but the second one was Osias. So they have to find these two because they're literally the only key they have to trying to find Dan and Ron before they do anything else. Also, the bishop head, one of the bishop's heads, are there to probably bail out the little phrase, everyone except Alan. So they know, like, by the time they probably come back, because they have to head out to check in on another person that was on the list who they found in last week's episode. They know for a fact that, yeah, these LaFreys will most likely not be here when they get back. So they're trying to get as much information as they can out of them now before they don't have an opportunity to do so. So Jebediah is parked to visit the other bishop and his wife, and they kind of get filled in on the situation. They try to fill in as much as they can. At first, they were trying to deny, like, they didn't really know anything, that, that sort of thing. But then they begin to realize that, yeah. So, honestly, this episode was very, like, I feel like when it comes to religion and in terms of like how that's expressed on TV, like, it depends on the person who's watching it at the end of the day. Because for me, I felt like this is totally not okay. That's just my personal opinion. But I understand there's other religions around the world, or probably other people whose beliefs are like, they'll look at this as like, what's he doing wrong? And it's like, hopefully it's kind of like the minority thing compared to what's more acceptable today with the majority. That's all I say in that matter. So I'm just expressing my thoughts out there. So they explained that, first of all, both Dan and Ron were excommunicated from the main Mormon church, which I'm actually surprised was not more public knowledge, but I guess it never really caught on to everyone else. They just noticed they weren't around anymore. So for Dan's side of things, oh yeah, I forgot we did see Dan in this episode. My bad. I thought we didn't see Dan at all in this episode. That's my bad. So it was after Dan's arrest, and Dan became really hard into what his plans were to become what God is telling him to be, which is, of course, taking up multiple wives. And I honestly thought, like, okay, maybe he's gonna, like, this because we see his wife kind of like just doing her regular motherly work, and she heard noises upstairs. So I honestly thought Dan probably found someone like from the community who was like kind of like beginning to explore that fundamentalist side too, and they're probably shacking it up right now. And I thought that was gonna be the big reveal. No, it turns out he was trying to sleep with his daughter, which I guess they later call stepdaughters. So I'm not sure if that was daughters from another marriage of her. So it's like, it was kind of weird, like, because the way they said, like, he wanted to welcome his stepdaughters as her new sister wives. So I'm not sure, like, what does the stepdaughter mean? Because usually stepdaughter means your new partner's children from her previous relationships or relationship, depending on it. And that's what I thought. But like, well, why would I really don't know how that. I really don't know how that would work. Either way, it's like, no matter what you put it, like, that kind of like is going to be like a big, like, wait, what type of moment. It doesn't even seem like they were even doing anything. It just seemed like they were getting ready to do something, but then Dan was then just explaining to his wife that this is going to happen, that the Lord is telling me that, like, who better than to be my new wives if not, close family, which I'm like, that's really, really, teeing the line. Like, it's really, bad. And it seemed like this had gone on for a while. So sadly, I'm assuming off screen, he had actually had intercourse with his stepdaughter. So, which was very much, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, this was like the first time I'm actually tackling the subject material. So I'm like, I really don't know how to really express it. For once, I was just not, this was not okay. This really wasn't. And I know that the girls weren't okay with it too, because they were trying to escape, and Dan actually screwed in their windows so they wouldn't try to escape. But even his wife knew about that. Yeah. So, yeah, so I'm clearly not for this. So here's a screwdriver. Here's like a scraper. Like, get yourselves out of here. Like, if anything, I'll distract your father as much as I can so that you can go try to get away. And so what she did was, like, they made some noise. Dan was going to go after them, and then she persuaded him with the power of sex. On the guys, like, kind of like a come at me, bro. Well, like, hey, if you can't sexually pleasure me, how are you gonna sexually pleasure two other women? So he welcomes the challenge. They're doing it, but it's clear as day she's not enjoying it. She's mostly doing it to like let her daughters escape. So the daughters eventually did make their way to the bishop, but instead of putting them in child protective services, they just entrusted them to another Mormon family. I'm assuming they were still scarred from what Dan did to them, so they ran away and they don't even know where the hell they are. Which I'm like, dude, like there's child services for a reason. I know like for like there's certain things in mind like I understand if there's certain things in your religion, I get your beliefs, but there are organizations in place to help these girls because they needed help. Like at least the system, like say what you want about the system, say what you want about that, but at least there's some sort of like uniform way of like, hey, they're gonna be safe, they're gonna get the resources, and they will be protected from Dan. Trusting into another Mormon family that probably knows Dan and could potentially like let them go back to him is a little scary. No offense, I'm not surprised they left, and they have no idea where they went, which is another scary thing. Like where the hell did they go? That's another mystery. That we don't even get to. Um, and that's kind of where like we leave off Dan's story for now. I think the wife came back in and she also escaped. So who knows where the hell everyone is? Like like the men are out. Like the LaFreys are basically like either half of them have escaped or half of them are like trying to kill people. Like literally, it's a big robin's nest of like what the hell's going on over here. And then they get into Ron's story because so on the night, this probably seemed like shorter in context. I'm really explaining this really too much into depth. So onto Ron's reason for excommunication, which they'll find out the second half later, but they only figure out that the main eclipse of the main dawn of this Ron's excommunication is because after Dan got excommunicated for what he did to his daughters, Ron wasn't privy to the information of why Dan was excommunicated. He just thought that it was all because of his political beliefs about the anti-tax laws that he was trying to pitch, and they were trying to tell him no, it isn't that. That's just private. Just let it be. And Ron wasn't having that, and also Ron was kind of becoming a more violent, abusive person to his wife. So that wasn't also a good feat as well. So eventually it got word that yeah, he's a wife beater. He's been physically abusing people, and he's not happy about it. That not his entire. It's the weakness that he had because like his business wasn't doing well. His association with his brothers are bringing down his characteristics and his mood, and him being kind of like mentally turned into like this fundamentalist point of view is starting to like affect his family. To the point where like I think he was about to self-harm his child, one of his children, as an acting mechanism to his wife to say like, if you try to speak out against me again, like you're gonna get punished. But thankfully nothing happened. That's kind of where we leave it off. We leave that off there because they find one of the people that one of the LaFreys they had in custody, who is now related to this supposed school of prophets. So they go visit him, and it seems like he's living under a guise. He's not the. It's I'm not gonna get into that, but his wife doesn't really know what really is going on. They're just like he's just kind of like faking the story. Like yeah, I was just driving them. I wasn't really involved. Oh, I knew of Dan. I knew of Ron. Osias. He's got a like really curly beard. That's about it. He was filling in some of the details that like yeah after his incident with his family, he went to his mother's side just to kind of punish himself for like being a failure of a man, that he couldn't keep his job, he's losing his religion, he's losing his family, and he's just punishing himself to it. But it's kind of slowly driving him forward into madness. Like there's a certain point where believing in something becomes an obsession, and that's not good. That's not really good at all. And then yeah, he was talking about the school. Like yeah, that Ron and Dan were building something in an old house they used to abandon, vandalize when they were teens. That they were repurposing that to be where the school was going to formally be. Because like at that moment they were just jumping around from place to place. Just having the fundamentalists, we'll call them, meet just in random spots just because they just never had an established location yet. And then they eventually found out that yeah, he was responsible for. Well, he was going to be part of making this supposed list, but I could tell by his character that once he found that there was going to be a list of people that they were actually going to punish, that's when he backed out of it. So, but he wrote a fake letter of himself receiving it so that if someone asked for it, hey, I didn't write that letter. They send one to me. And even like it was kind of stupid because like he had the letter ready to go in his house, which again, like you really want to find a better hiding spot for that. You really do. But the detectives won't leave him alone, so he's gonna help them find this school of prophets, this farmhouse in the middle of nowhere to see if Ron and Dan or this Osiris fellow still hiding out there. They get approval for this, but they take a break. They need a little bit of some siesta because they're gonna go out at dawn. So Jeb heads out home. He's a little worried because he doesn't find his wife, kids, or mother there. So he thankfully receives a note that, hey, we're at dinners at the Bishop. Don't worry about us. So he calls them over just to make sure they're okay. They're right. Everything's fine with the family. So Jeb's allowed to kind of like do his thing with this potential raid. So he's good. Jeb remembers this conversation he had with Alan before he was telling him about the school prophets and what they were figuring out as, because even though he was at that point just cleared as a suspect, he was just there just to be held for just in case because of his connection with the LaFrays. He was telling him like, yeah, so about like, we always believed that Joseph was the main prophet, that, God was instructing him to like, this is the way, this is what you guys need to do. And that the belief that there's multiple prophets kind of already goes against to what they were all believing. And there was a key flashback to the Mormon flashback where we're finding out more about their communities, that after Joseph kind of like wanted to go full ahead of like having multiple wives and believing in non-monogamy, but being polyamorous. Polygamy? Polyamorous? I think it's polyamorous. There's some other characters I didn't really recognize there, but eventually the remaining Mormons thought that what Joseph was doing, he was a traitor, he was corrupted, so we need to kill him, we need to like actually get him off the board. So they all like conveniently go to his house, shoot up the place, they bring him out, and they kill him like in the most brutal ways. Like I honestly was shocked that we saw that on camera, where they shot him in both legs, they shot him in the stomach, and these were the old fashioned guns, so they had like that pointy knife thing they attached to the carbine, and they just stabbed him in the heart, and I was like, oh my god, that's really that was a little graphic to see. And then like the new leader came up and to proclaim that we are going to resume the original ways that Joseph was preaching before we was corrupted. So that was kind of like how they explained it, where like, and then one of the people was like, don't worry, the spirit of Joseph is living on through him, the original Joseph. But again, like, was that really God telling Joseph you can have multiple wives and partners, or was it just him being selfish for wanting to have multiple sexual partners? We'll never know. It's another one of those, we have to be in his mindset to understand that, but we just don't know. That's kind of like where they try to erase what Joseph was trying to do, the fundamentalist side of things, where they were just believing the original prophet's vision of like, this is it, and what everyone else was just being pansies for not wanting to conform to these new ways because they just didn't believe it. It's just like one extreme meets another extreme. Like eventually one of them is going to get extinguished, which in this case was Joseph. So they all head up to the farm. They're ready to go. They look inside. None of the men are there. No Ron, no Dan, no Osiris. But they find 3 women hiding in the back room. Presumably all Ron's new wives. They were basically they were just there to like be his. I don't want to even say the word, but you can kind of get what I mean. So they were from Canada. They were from a fundamentalist camp up there, and Osiris brought them in here, most likely for Dan and Ron to like have them as new wives, and they just arrived. It's only a month ago, but then I'm presuming around the time of the murders, when they started, that's when they haven't seen them for a while, so they don't know where they're at. But they already just left them with no food, no water, no electricity, really no way to survive. Just the belief that they will come back and take care of them whenever the time comes. Which, will they ever come back? Who knows? Who knows what the intentions were with those men right now? So Jeb, being like the quiet, personal one, talks to them, tries to figure out what's going on. Yeah, so they were Ron's wives, or just, are Ron, and, he left the shirt behind. That was going to be kind of his, symbol that I will return to you. This is like me presently being there, even though I'm not. And they find in his pocket the list, and also the cue that he's going to try and find his wife and kill her, that she is due for a blood atonement. And they find a whole list of everyone they were planning. And then that's when the guy also said again that like, yeah, like their family house was used for some of the meetings for the school, so they head over there. They don't find anything of the sort, but then we get like coinciding flashbacks with when Ron visited his dad, like when he was on his deathbed, kind of just like teasing him that your ways is done. We're moving into this like the original true way of things. So once you're gone, it makes things better. Which honestly is kind of very cruel. Like that you should not do that to your own father, regardless of beliefs. Like you don't really do that. Once they find the house empty, no one has been there for a while. Jeb and his partner walk outside, realizing that Ron has become. It's kind of like a present day version of what happened back in the day, where like the original prophet, let's say in this case, their dad is dead now. So it's like they're free to pursue what they think is the true way of being a Mormon. So now they're going in a spiritual. It's a thematic reversal, but it's a spiritual reversal where they're trying to go back to what Joseph was doing, and that Ron is the one who's like really shepherding like this movement. I still think it's Dan, but again, we don't know what happened with Dan after his excommunication, so we don't know what the heck has been in his mind. Hopefully next week we'll find out more answers to that. But yeah, that's about it. That ends the episode because now they have to find the remaining Lafrays, Osiris. They have to find everyone because who knows who's going to die next? Who knows? Because everyone's on this list. So we got to find them now before anyone else dies. And that's where the episode ends. So for me, I think this was the best episode of the series so far. I think this was the more coherent. We got a perfect balance of present and flash. The suspense was there. You never knew what you would expect next from the story. Again, I know the book is out there, but I haven't read it, so I'm totally going into this like fully not aware of how it ends. But I thought it was great. Everyone delivered top-notch performances. Seeing Ron and Dan's descendants into like for just in personal sake of madness was intriguing to see, very disturbing, and it just you're concerned of what they could do next. And again, I'm very scared to if we ever get to see the moment where we catch up to where Ron and Dan were killing Brenda. I'm very scared on that front, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, 2 episodes left in the season. I think so far they're going to end off strong. I mean, there's still a lot for them to do in 2 hours, but if they can land the ship, they'll land the ship. It's only a one and done, so there's no season 2. They have to wrap it up in the next 2 weeks. So we'll see how that all goes. But for me, I think this was the best episode so far. I can't wait for more. I'm literally ready for next Thursday to come around and see what the heck they're thinking of next. But for now, I give this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what did you think of this week's episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. I'd love to talk to you down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX reviewing every episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two besides our Under the Banner episode reviews, we're currently doing Rookie and Walker reviews each and every week after brand episodes on the CW and ABC. So go check them out there. If you don't care about the Banner of Heaven, you're in luck. We'll be back for next week for a brand new episode review. So now that we're reaching, we're at the halfway mark, we're past it. So next week we have another episode review. The week after that we have the finale review, the series finale, the whole big finale review. And then next week, after that, we have the full series review, definitive, no, spoiler free. It's definitive. We're just going to talk about the whole series as is because it's really meant to be a one and done. I was experimenting with the format, so that'll end up the journey there. So we still have a few more weeks to go of this show. So yeah, can't wait to see how it all wraps up. But again, this has been What's the Two from ActionX. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share if you want to. Please also ring the bell. And as well as please follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates we may have for either of our channel, which also includes the Collection Compass. So go check that out as well. But until we see each other again, for all you banners out there, I'll see y'all next week for the next episode review. But until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.